Hello, class. Today we compare and contrast the Monroe Doctrine to the Roosevelt Corollary. Exciting! Anyway, before we get started, we should probably go over what a corollary is. A corollary is basically an amendment to an existing document. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's begin. So, James Monroe was the 5th President of the United States, serving from 1817 to 1825. He expanded the territories of the United States with two major treaties. The Treaty of 1818 with Great Britain secured the borders of the United States from the Rocky Mountains to the Pacific Ocean. The Treaty of 1819 with Spain gave Florida to the U.S. and defined the boundary between Mexico and the United States. The Monroe Doctrine was designed to deal with the threat posed to Latin America by European powers in the late 19th century. At the time, England and America were concerned about Spain and France attempting to occupy and colonize the newly formed governments of Peru and what would later become Bolivia. The Monroe Doctrine states that European nations would no longer be allowed to meddle in the affairs of Latin America, or America itself, while the United States would in turn leave Europe alone. After the Monroe Doctrine was put into effect, only Puerto Rico and Cuba remain under Spain's control. Okay, you got all that? Well, the Monroe Doctrine came in to be seen as the defining moment in the foreign policy of the United States. It was followed by presidents through the 1800s and into the 20th century. In 1904, President Theodore Roosevelt articulated the Roosevelt Corollary. He tied it to the Monroe Doctrine, though some felt the corollary was a departure from the Monroe Doctrine. The corollary said that America had the right to intervene in conflicts in Latin America in order to keep European powers from dealing directly with problems arising in places such as Venezuela. In fact, it was a conflict in Venezuela that brought about the Roosevelt Corollary. In 1902 and 1903, Great Britain, Germany, and Italy formed a blockade off the coast of Venezuela. The blockade occurred because Venezuelan President Caprino Castro refused to pay foreign debts suffered by European citizens that occurred during the 1998 Venezuelan Civil War. Roosevelt tried to walk a fine line in the conflict by trying to negotiate with Castro and the Europeans. At one point, he sent American naval forces to the area, causing the German Navy to back down. Eventually, the confusing episode was settled when Venezuela agreed to pay for some of the damages caused to European business owners during the Civil War. Alright, hang in there, we're almost done. The Monroe Doctrine called for the end of European intervention in both North American and South American continents. In the Roosevelt Corollary, it was asserted that Europe could not intervene in countries south of the U.S., but America could intervene in those countries to a certain justifiable extent. The